So I don't normally do this, but I wanted to take a little time to address some of the discussion that's been sparked with my last video. At the time of writing this, there are nearly 3,000 comments on that video, which is a lot. And before I get hit with the "I'm milking this" accusations, let me just say on behalf of all YouTubers, this may surprise you, but we like getting views. In all seriousness though, I will add, this topic was something I already planned to touch on. You see, I've made a good amount of Destiny videos recently, but nearly all of them have been focused on Destiny's past. Few have been about the future. I was going to make a general Destiny 3 video discussing where I want to see the game go in 2026 and beyond, so I plan to do that here, just with some nuance, given the relevance of Marathon. Also, side note, little update on Marathon. After playing for like 10 hours now that the server slam is over, I do think it's true it gets better the more you play. Not just because you're getting a grasp of the mechanics, but because like Destiny, you're becoming more powerful. That's not to say I wasn't having fun initially, but I'm interested to progress in this game. It's certainly niche and not for everyone, but like that one dude in Harry Potter said to Dumbledore, this game's got style. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that remix track at the end of the ARG recently or not, but you don't gotta like this game, but I don't know how you can look me in the eyes and say this game ain't got no sauce. Anyway, a lot of you guys brought up Destiny or Bungie in the comments in my last video, despite Destiny barely being mentioned, and that makes sense to me. While I don't consider myself a Destiny-only channel, and while some of my most popular videos aren't Destiny-related, I know a massive chunk of my subscriber base is built on Destiny fans, given the sheer amount of Destiny-related content I've made over the years. Some direct comments from my Marathon video include the following. I don't hate Marathon, but as a former disgruntled Destiny 2 player, I hate Bungie. I don't hate Marathon, I hate Bungie. Remember, this is the game they killed Destiny for, and perhaps my favorite. We will see who is right in about 4 to 5 months. Interesting to see if Destiny dying was worth birthing Marathon. It would be impossible for me to encapsulate the feelings of literally every single person on this issue, so if you're watching this and feel your perspective is different from what I'm about to cover, by all means let me know in the comments. You've probably already done so. But I think most people, as it pertains to this situation, can be placed into one of two camps. Those that are upset with Bungie, the company, and those that are upset with Destiny, the game. And there is certainly a Venn diagram overlap in those two camps. Also, if you're new here, for context, I have played every single piece of major Destiny content from D1 Vanilla all the way to the final shape. I played the free trial versions of Edge of Fate and Renegades, but generally speaking, I do not play the game anymore. Not for any crazy reason, I just felt the final shape was a really good ending and lost interest thereafter. Let's start with Bungie. Why are people upset with Bungie specifically these days? Admittedly, there are quite a lot of reasons someone could be bitter towards Bungie, or disgruntled, as the one person put it. Totally random side note, but am I the only one who gets flashbacks of The Last of Us 2 leaks whenever I hear anyone be described as disgruntled? It's like a word I hadn't heard ever before, then it was suddenly being used like a million times. Anyway, some immediate things I can think of as it pertains to hatred towards Bungie, as the comment suggests, include the layoffs, the debacle with Pete Parsons spending millions on vintage cars, the stolen art scandal, the alleged inappropriate behavior of Christopher Barrett, the decision to be acquired by Sony after fighting so long to leave Activision, and several others I'm probably not thinking of. And you know what? I think people have every right to feel upset. If you don't want to support Bungie as a company because of these things, that's a perfectly valid consumer choice. Who am I or anyone else to tell you what to spend your money on? Now, what about Destiny? I understand Bungie makes Destiny and therefore the game is technically a byproduct of their actions too, but for the sake of this video, what has happened within Destiny specifically that has made players angry? I'd say there's fatigue from the content treadmill and seasonal model, sunsetting, the content vault, technical issues, the engine's old age, abandonment of PvP, increased monetization. I actually recently made a video listing out what I consider to be every major mistake Bungie has made in regards to Destiny just a few weeks ago. Shameless plug aside, as we tighten the lens per se, and look at this issue through the perspective of Marathon, what about Marathon's existence is making Destiny players feel betrayed? I actually think the explanation is quite simple. First off, there are people that think Bungie milked Destiny to fund Marathon. All the increased monetizations and collabs inside of Destiny 2, that was done to dump more money into Marathon. There are people that have no trust for Bungie after the content vault. thinking that if they invest money and time into another game like Marathon, the content they paid for will one day just vanish. There are people that think the moving of developers from Destiny to Marathon was them effectively abandoning the game, a game in a different genre, a game they don't even want to play. If you are one of these people, let me just say, I hear you. I understand the frustration. However, does this mean Marathon killed Destiny? If Destiny were to die, per se, would it be because of Marathon? Does it mean if, in some alternate timeline, Bungie made Destiny 3 instead of Marathon, would it be better for us players and the company? I do not. While the emotions are real, the facts don't line up with this. I think people are blaming Marathon because it's an easy target for angry fans. It's a lazy explanation of what's going on. And maybe you disagree, but I invite you to hear me out. Now, ya boy ain't Bungie PR, let's get that out of the way. Actually, those that think that have already written their comments and left, so for the record, might as well come clean. Yes, Pete Parsons does pay me. He actually gives me 1 vintage car per dislike, so keep them coming. I'm addressing this because I think Marathon's success is actually a good thing for you if you're a Destiny fan. Doesn't mean I'm telling you to buy it if you don't want to. I'm just saying hoping it bombs isn't beneficial. Let's break this down and get to why Destiny has actually declined over the years. It is true that some key leadership was moved from Destiny to Marathon, and those moves undoubtedly had an impact on the game, most notably Destiny's Crucible. But when we look at the sheer scale of the studio over the years, we are told a different story. During the Activision era, Bungie had roughly 400 to 600 employees, supplemented by a few of Activision's support studios, High Moon and Vicarious Visions. When Bungie left Activision and became self-published, they ballooned to well over 1,000 employees. So even though Marathon was fully in production, Destiny 2 maintained a massive development force, one that was almost certainly bigger than ever before. The decline then was likely due to the loss of the support studios. Bungie went from having maybe 400 experienced support staff to roughly 600 plus new staff, all of which needed to be trained and brought up to speed, having to manage the content treadmill all on their own. There's a lot of technical debt that likely came along with this. Another thing to consider is this. Developers move from one project to another a lot. I haven't seen literally anyone bring this up, but have you ever considered that moving some of Bungie's veteran staff to a new game such as Marathon might have been the only way to retain them at the company? I don't openly talk about what I do for a living, but just take my word for it. When you are working on a live service game, the same live service game for like 5+ years, it's easy to get burnt out and uninspired creatively. Who's to say some of these people at Bungie weren't thinking about leaving to go work at Blizzard or some other studio, looking for a fresh start, bored of making nothing but Destiny for the last 8 years. Putting them on a different game reinvigorates creative energy. Instead of having them make legendary weapon number 4,036,200,000, you get the point. Giving people different projects is usually a way to retain those people. The second thing to consider is when Sony eventually acquired old Bungo, they didn't solely do it for Destiny. They bought Destiny's live service expertise. And honestly, after Activision, they weren't doing so hot, probably to the point of needing Sony. Even still, Lightfall underperformed, and while the final shape was loved by fans, myself included, it couldn't outrun the overhead required to run a studio of Bungie's size. Bungie also had multiple incubation projects going, not just Marathon, something I'm willing to bet was required in the Sony deal. So what I'm getting at is this. Bungie didn't abandon Destiny for Marathon. They tried to become a multi-game studio too quickly and collapsed under the weight of that ambition. Here's something else to consider. Marathon was likely created because Bungie knew they couldn't survive on Destiny alone forever. Marathon could very well be the only reason Bungie still has a future in the eyes of Sony. But you may be thinking, why make a game like Marathon when they could just make the beautiful Destiny 3? There's a few reasons why I think this, and given everything we know, it was probably the right choice. Destiny is not some cash cow like people make it seem. Destiny 3 is a massive financial risk. It means a new start, likely a new or just better revamped engine, different powers. Relaunching a 10-year-old looter shooter franchise is harder than launching into a newer, more popular genre. More importantly though, compared to other live service games, Destiny is unbelievably expensive to make. It needs multiple open worlds, cutscenes, raids, strikes, seasonal activities, campaigns, constant narrative updates, PvP multiplayer, new items. Shall I go on? In comparison, other games like extraction shooters are rather simplistic. Once you build the map and the mechanics, the players create the content through their interactions. Maintaining and updating a game like Marathon is way easier and way cheaper than doing so to a game like Destiny. Embark, for example, who, yes, does get some help from Nexon and Tencent, is able to manage both the finals and arc raiders with roughly half the size of Bungie, around 350 people. For reference, current estimates put Destiny staff alone around 550 people post layoffs. Destiny simply doesn't make enough money anymore to support the level of staffing it needs. The idea that it's this money printing machine is just straight up untrue. As I've said in my last video when touching on this subject, Marathon's existence has impacted Destiny, but it is simply one reason out of many why Destiny is the way it is. Marathon is not to blame for most of Destiny's issues. Even if making Destiny 3 was financially feasible, there's no guarantee it would be any good. If you look at Bungie's track record, I'd say it's more likely to introduce more problems, as both Destiny 1 and 2 arguably needed to be saved by the Taken King and Forsaken, respectively. Alternatively, if Marathon does extremely well, then I think there's a possibility Bungie could afford time to take off of Destiny 2, make those refinements, and reinvent the franchise. But right now, it seems pretty obvious to me they're only keeping it going because they can't really afford to stop it, even if the game itself is degrading. I would love to see Destiny 3 as much as the next guy, and I do think one day it will happen, but acting like you'd be playing Destiny 3 right now if it weren't for Marathon as if you could just swap one out for the other, it's naive. If anything, if Destiny fans successfully tank Marathon out of spite, they aren't saving Destiny. They're likely just ensuring the studio gets fully absorbed by Sony, putting D2 into maintenance mode with no more major expansions. And again, this is not me saying to go buy 18 copies of Marathon because you want to see Destiny 3. Only buy Marathon if you want to play it. And if you're just a total Bungie hater at this point, that's cool, I guess. I don't personally get the deep disdain. Like, it ain't like they showed up at your house and smacked your mama, but if you don't want to support them and you're bitter about how things have gone, that's fine. I think management has to wear that. I'm not saying that you're bitter like in a bad way. I'm just trying to stop people from using Marathon as a scapegoat for a decade of other problems. Right now, Marathon is a little bro. It's easy to look at little bro and get angry, not want to see him succeed. But ask yourself, if he doesn't, what does that mean for you? Appreciate y'all watching the video, especially for sticking around to the end. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you enjoyed it, you can let me know by leaving a like and sharing it con tus amigos. Thank you all so much again, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.